Vibes Radio is fostering women-centered discourse.
Good morning, Dominica. Good morning, the rest of the world.
Offering women a platform to be candid.
All of your life, you've been planning for a pandemic.
Share ideas and information relevant to our wholesome development.
My main concern was always for the people.
Join Jael Joseph and Trudy Christian on Woman2Woman every Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we discuss live and in living color on Digital Channel 57, Facebook, and of course, the champion station, Vibes Radio.
Jael, what's up?
Got somewhere la week I got it though. What's up?
Oh gosh, you always remind me of my grandmother used to say a thing. I cannot even speak patois properly, so I cannot even say it. You know, like muelas cachebe or something like that.
Cachebe for.
Every time is the same story.
Well, you know the worst is when they tell you, "I'm not too bad." Why you not too bad? Why you always bad? Why you can't just be good?
Yeah,
you know? I'm not too bad. I always like my grandfather. Whenever I call my grandfather, who lives in Montreal, and I say, "Granddad, how are you doing?" He's like, "I'm not too bad." I'm like, "Well, if you keep saying you're not too bad, of course you're gonna be bad all the time."
or you know this phrase, like you ask people how are they, and like, they are taking my blows.
I know.
Every day is blows.
It's a tough time we're living in. There's so many things happening around the world. I mean, Trudy, you know, we had another killing of a black man.
Yes, police killing of a black man. Yeah, and riots, protests, I should say, sorry. Once again, same issue, different month. You know what I mean? Same issue. So, yeah, a lot going on in this.
When is it going to end? Or is it ever going to end?
Yeah, that's the better question, maybe. That's the better question.
Like,
yes.
Crazy. We live in a crazy world, and it's sad to see that. I never expected that to happen in my time, you know?
Really?
Like, I never thought I would witness this, you know? Like, you know, you learn of the civil rights movement, you know, he wasn't born.
You figure that has passed.
You know, you just figure like, and then you even try to be somewhat, it's not necessarily objective, but you try to be like, you know, let's move on with our lives. You know, but we can't because
you get repeated occurrences of you know the same thing. Yeah, so
repeating itself.
Yeah,
and that's crazy. But such is life. That's what's going on right now. And so I just want to encourage all our black men, because this is the Woman2Woman show. All our black men. We do have black men in the U.S. because that's where everything seems to be happening. And I just want to, you know, encourage them and tell them to be safe and to be very aware of their surroundings. And guys, so if you have to drink rum, stay in your house. In your house, they come and kill people, you know. But you know, like it's a tough world. And as a woman with boys, I care for my kids every day. Because they will eventually grow up to be men. And it's almost like I feel like there's a target already on their back.
On black men specifically. Yeah, but I guess you see something about life is like you have to kind of, no matter how tough it seems, like kind of still try to somehow keep some sort of positive outlook, because the mental weight of this stuff, I mean, might do you worse than anything else. Like you literally have to try to see, Jael, as you're saying, you know, the things that you could do to cope in certain situations and kind of almost preserve your sanity. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of people, like people that suffer from anxiety and that type of stuff. Anytime one of these incidents happen with police brutality against a black man, it kind of triggers, you know, a whole bunch of stuff for them. So I guess you really have to just try to cope, like figure out how to cope with that stuff. So yeah.
Here with you guys. Good morning, folks on the radio. If you're just tuning in.
Vibes Radio. Good morning.
DP Bomate, o boy café, o boy cocotinho, o boy dite pomade, o boy basilic, mamizu. Good morning to you. I think this morning. I don't know why.
Jael give you a whole menu there. So if you didn't drink anything on that menu, well, I don't know what's up with you. But
up and do is drink juice. I hope you did not drink juice.
or soda.
Or soda.
Yeah. But good morning to you, Jael, our social media listeners, our faithful Facebook followers. I swear, yesterday we mentioned having an early bird crew. And I see that this morning, the competition, I feel like there is a strong competition for that early bird crew. So this morning, Will was in the lead. Will, you are in the lead this morning. Good morning to you, bright and early with your shout out. Good morning. And Rosalind, I see you coming in second. Next time, you have to try to beat Will.
And Lauren and Denise and Jude and Prisma. Good morning to you guys.
Denise. Yes. And
And-
Sheila. Yes. Good morning. And these are you are really, really in the early bird crew. But
you make our day brighter. Because when we see y'all, we can't help but smile. Because we're happy that you guys choose to be here because it is a choice. You know, you choose to log in at 9 o'clock, sometimes even earlier, and you follow us and you share the lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I go on my page and it says share, I'm like, okay, Rosalind. She's a top fan, okay?
Yes. And good morning to Al. Al, I see you. I did not forget the Woman2Woman live. A lot of our listeners sometimes wonder, Jay, like, depending on which live they're viewing, like, where are these other people that beating me in the good morning? Like, they're very confused. So we look at two different streams on Jael's page and on the Woman2Woman page. So Al, good morning to you. I see you won the race on the Woman2Woman feed. It's just that, you know, the others were on Jael's feed and they were giving you some stiff competition. But good morning.
Like, it doesn't even have a minute doesn't pass now.
Right.
Like,
good morning to all of you guys. Good morning to all of our social media fans. It's good to have you on with us every morning as you've been coming on every morning. It's really, really nice.
if it's your birthday today, the 26th of out,
Yeah.
happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah, hope you guys are having an awesome birthday. If it is your anniversary and you're celebrating your love days, happy love day to you.
Yeah, what's his name?
If you're celebrating your if you're celebrating your birthday, happy breakup to you too. Yes.
This Jael. Hey, I was looking at this court, you know, these what you call it, TV court. Right. No, it wasn't paternity court this time. It was a TV court thing, like People's Court or Judge Hatchett. I can't remember which one. And this lady does divorce parties. Like, she's a party planner, but it's for breakups and divorces. So, like, if you got a divorced, you could hire her to like throw you a whole thing.
My phrase is a vibe. It's a vibe.
I was so shocked. I was like, hey, that's a job. Like, people actually specialize in divorce parties. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. And there are a whole bunch of rituals, like you have to burn all the pictures.
Why? I would love to. Hey, if they're having a divorce party, I'll come. I'll bring the liquor.
Oh gosh, people do so much. It's crazy. But yeah, I was like, hey, I should maybe start a little thing on the side, a little business, you know, check me for your breakups.
Budging.
Oh
Morning to the folks on Digicel channel 57. Those of you tuning in on there. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're talking all kinds of stuff before we get into our topic of the day. We have guests.
Yeah.
Are already in studio. One is in studio, one is off studio, standing by to join you guys. This morning when Trudy walked in, trying to fix up her lipstick.
Yes.
Because ladies, I mean, come on, let me know how y'all are feeling. Don't you feel like your lipstick needs to now be matte? Like you can't wear nothing glossy.
I know.
You can't wear nothing.
Because of the masks. And I actually only wear matte. I only wear matte, and I'm still like, hey, this mask thing is messing up my lipstick game. I swear. I feel I'm sweating. The sweat is going to mess up the lipstick. So, ladies, if you've had that problem, shout me out. Let me know I'm not alone. Jael was most amused at my lipstick woe.
I wasn't most amused. I was laughing you because Trudy brought a whole mirror. It's not a compact, a whole mirror.
I came well equipped.
Trudy had also, I'm videotaping Trudy because she doesn't have videotaping her. Fixing her face in a whole mirror, right? And I was just laughing so hard. And I understand the fight. Trust me, ladies, you see ladies are us talking. Like people say they're not even wearing lipstick anymore.
Right.
And so are wearing matte lipstick. I've always worn matte lipstick. I've always felt more comfortable with matte lipstick. But now and again, I wear lip gloss. And the one day I wore a lip gloss, I probably put a little too much, or it wasn't enough. It was too much for the mask to soak up. Mm-hmm. So I took out the mask. I had lip gloss like all on my chin.
You had chin gloss.
I was like, is that a new contour thing? Like, where the chin needs to be glossy?
I know, right? New trend.
Vibe. Right? So, ladies, we're going to take a short break.
Yes.
When we come back, we're going to be talking to Jacqueline Dupigny and petrea Honeychurch Seaman.
Yes.
We're going to be joined by two ladies of Shape. Mm-hmm. So, you want to tune in to find out about Shape. I think it's an important conversation that needs to be had. Right, True?
Definitely, most definitely. So you're going to stay tuned in, locked on. You're going to share the live whilst we're on break. And we will be back with these two guests. We're going to have a very, very important discussion. Shape is an organization that you need to find out about. If you haven't heard about it yet, this is the time, this is the place. We are going to be talking about Shape and historical preservation. So we'll be back.
We're coming back. Don't dial. Don't move. Don't even go in the toilet.
But share.
We're coming back. We're coming back right after this.
Do you have a question for us on Woman to Woman? Send in your questions on 767-245-0514 or email us at w2w.vibesradio@gmail.com. Tune in Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. to the Champion Station with Jael Joseph and Trudy Christian, only on Vibes Radio.
It's always a great deal at Jael Dupigny Hardware Store. A wide variety of wood and metal curtain rods at amazing prices. So many patterns for your home and business decor needs. We have roofing, concrete, and wood screws of all lengths, nails by pound and bulk, hand and power tools, paint and paint accessories, all types of silicones, door locks, and hinges, shop or decorative mirrors and housewares, cutlasses and garden tools, ladders, wheelbarrows, kitchenware, pots and pans, and kitchen appliances, durable ironing boards, clothes dryers, toilets, face basins, kitchen sinks, bathroom faucets, and so much more hardware items. At Jael Dupigny Hardware Store, you get special discounts when you spend over $29. What are you waiting for? Come home to quality at LA Dupigny Hardware.
Huggies Active Sec disposable diapers provides the best absorption results. Its Velcro Dura technology provides a long-lasting fit for up to 12 hours of absorption and are available in sizes small to XXL at an affordable price. Huggies Active Sec, leading your baby to explore the world. Available at all supermarkets and shops island-wide and distributed by Springfield Trading Limited.
Didn't you know the only place to go, Vibes Radio? Silk, say so.
Right now it's woman time. Hey, it's your girl Tasha P, and you're listening to Woman2Woman.
Jael, you're killing me this morning. You are just killing me. We are back. We are back, Jael. Don't choke, please. Please. For the people listening to us on Vibes Radio and not viewing us live, so Jael and I are in two different places. In case you don't have that visual, so you don't know. So Jael, coughing, Jael, I cannot help you. I mean, I cannot come and give you a hard lash on your back if you choke me. I know, I cannot try anything. So just please keep yourself in check over there, because I cannot help you, guys. I cannot help you.
Yeah, it was just a little wind, a little flame, nothing to scream about.
Oh gosh, yes. So we are ready. Our guests are ready and waiting. So this morning we have with us two founding members of an organization called SHAPE, and they are live and in living color waiting to join us. We have Jacqueline Dupigny and Petrea Seaman. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning, Trudy and Jael and the listening public.
Good morning. How are you all doing?
Good. Listening to you guys having fun.
We always have fun.
Yeah, it's not a job. You get paid for that, right?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, it's a job to make people happy. Yeah, it's good to have you ladies on here with us. So thank you very much for taking the time out to come and speak with us this morning. And we look forward to hearing a lot about SHAPE, right?
Yes, definitely. So if people don't know, what is SHAPE? What does the acronym stand for? We want you guys to tell our listening audience, what is SHAPE about? What is this organization about? So it's like, who has first dibs on speaking? Whichever one is fine.
Okay, just a little correction. I am one of the founding members. Petrea is probably too young to be a founding member.
Okay.
SHAPE was started there about formalized in 1996, and it came on the initiative of Mr. Demonjou. He was a member of the French Technical Mission here in Dominica. And he saw the need to preserve our rich architectural heritage. SHAPE the acronym stands for the Society for Historic Architecture Preservation and Enhancement. And this is our mission, is to really shape Dominica into the best it could be. And we have this passion about this aspect of our culture, our heritage, our architecture. So this is what brings us together and motivates us.
Yeah, just to add to that, we're here to encourage the understanding and appreciation of our heritage architecture, and we'll do that through a variety of ways, which I guess we'll explain on this show.
Now, tell us a little bit about the people behind the organization. Like you have the founding members and you have new members. Because recently we saw you guys revamped your look in terms of we saw photos of you guys, we saw a press release. So tell us a little bit about the people behind the organization.
Jackie, I'll let you.
Okay. As I said, it was started there about 1996. Our founding members were people like Juliet Shillenford, Fadel. Juliet has lived much of her life. Her formative childhood years were in Roseau. She comes from an old Dominican family. She's also a physical planner. Carla Armour herself is an artist, woman activist. Myself, entrepreneur. I come from a family that have from several generations, probably going 5 back. I've done business and have lived in Roseau, myself included. I have lived in Roseau, and it's a wonderful experience, by the way. Even if it's noisy and it's crazy, there's a great vibes to living in Roseau. Eversley Collier was from the Ministry of Culture, and Maurice Agar, himself an architect. I may be missing 1 or 2 others who may have been on the formative group. Yeah, and then we have people now from all walks of life who are very interested in SHAPE. They're just listening in and they're just realizing, hey, I want to be a member of SHAPE. I want to help. I want to preserve this rich aspect of our culture that I never realized was there. It was sleeping. So we're coming back with, after a little hiatus, and we're coming back in an era of social media, which is really going to help us an immense lot. In 1996, that did not exist. So we had to use phone cards and posters and radio shows and meetings, and that was a bit more challenging than now. So hopefully we can be off to a great new start.
So it's interesting, to hear about all these people who came together to actually, establish this organization. And as you correctly mentioned, in this current day, the day of social media, a lot of people are now finding out about the organization. Maybe people who did not know about it before. They're like you. I had seen some stuff maybe about a year or so ago, but I'm seeing like a lot more, on social media now. So it's like it's becoming a bit more at the forefront of my awareness. Petrea, I have a question specifically for you. So you are not a founding member. Jacqueline said you're too young to be a founding member. So what brought you on board, or what led you to want to be a part of SHAPE, and why did you feel it was important to do so?
To be a part of it. Mm-hmm. Well, my background is in landscape architecture, and I worked with planning division for quite a few years. Okay. Before I now have decided to go in a different field, but I still have a passion and deep appreciation for our heritage. And when the group decided, a group of us had, gotten in touch with Jackie to find out, okay, what's happening with SHAPE? How can we, bring it around, bring it a reality? And this was, led by Marika Honeychurch, who is the current president. And so all of us are just, we wanted to kind of hold on and bring about awareness of our, current heritage and encourage people to understand our history and the importance of it and the importance of our vernacular and the part it will play in, our lives and our future and for future generations.
Interesting. I want to get into the tough questions because for me, like you see, I put up my hand when I said I didn't know about it. I didn't know anything about it until I started posting on social media, to be quite honest. but I had an appreciation for what the mission of the organization is, and I probably would not have had an appreciation if I had seen, or I probably would not have cared if I had seen the post a year earlier. Because after visiting Cuba this year, I got a new sense of somewhat appreciation for how, like my cousin Jean, who was my tour guide while I was in Cuba. She knew so much about the buildings and the history behind them, and all that. It was really eye opening. Like, hey, this is a thing. I didn't realize this was a thing. I figure a building old, mash it up, it's time to get rid of it. Move on, right? Why is it so important for us to preserve historical buildings? Like, what is the importance of it?
Well,
This,
Jackie, do you want to?
no, it's, as I said, it's one of the pillars of our culture we have neglected. We never realized, and listen to you and Trudy talk and your little patois and your lingo and your expressions. You don't realize that is your culture, and that is who makes you who you are, and who sets us apart. So you go into Canada, or you go into or somebody comes to Dominica. This is what makes Dominica a truly great experience. Our language was fought for by C.C. Cordero. Our dance was fought for by Raymond Lawrence, by E.O. Ligler. These are the greats who fought for our language, and probably nobody has probably put out that great fight for one of the pillars of our culture. And if it wasn't for Eusebio Leal Spengler, who just died, he was called the de facto mayor of Cuba. And he got the ear of Fidel Castro in the 1990s. And in that era, in the 20th century, Cuba was just struggling to survive amidst the political embargo placed on it. And he convinced Castro to set up a company to put the proceeds of tourism back into restoration. And we all know that is the great attraction of Cuba, is its heritage, its architectural heritage. The same can be said about, say, Paris. Paris is the most visited destination in the world, and it's because of their architecture and their culture that they preserve every last thing. There are things, I mean, when you go to Paris, there's this gypsy woman playing music with something that puts out paper. I'm not sure how it's done. And I remember going to St. Kitts in the 1990s, and St. Kitts, a group of concerned citizens came together, and Bastia was preserved, and it's really a beautiful town. And I looked and I said, St. Kitts is poised to take off. And so said, St. Kitts has done a remarkable job in tourism. And we have to see it as a product worthy of preservation, right? Because as Jael was saying, our buildings tell us stories. They are living examples of our history. And when you go and destroy that, it's lost forever. And we have so many lessons learned in our architecture and it's so rich, but we haven't tapped into it, we haven't tuned into it. So we feel at Shape it's our mission to go out there and to sensitize the public and to educate the public of how important it is for the future of this country.
I have a follow-up question. Read the whole historic value and all of that. Some people might say, though, that the historic background of a building may be enshrined in slavery, or like why we want to remember these things. I mean, like we see now, even with the Black Lives Movement, people want to get rid of statues. that represented colonization, and they don't really want that to be in their future because they were like, this is my past, and I want to. Why is it important for even the bad to be preserved? Like, what about it is a smart thing? Like, why is it a thing? Petrea, probably you can help.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a sensitive topic. I think well, for example, a statue, it's almost like not an idol, but it's something that you're sort of, like, oh wow, look, let's remember this person. Right. And a building tells a story of, its material, the way it was built, the people that built it. And I think listen, in my opinion, we are a product of our past. And so it's important for us to understand our past, to not only know know how far we've come and know where we're going. And if we lose the touch to our past, the buildings and the structures that are tied to it, our children, grandchildren, they'll have no understanding of these miraculous buildings that were constructed in our vernacular. And the other thing is how we build. A lot of these structures, we talk about climate resilience, and these buildings, they take into consideration the climate, every aspect. If you break down the buildings, were designed to maximize comfort and use the elements to their advantage so that, people could live comfortably. There was no air conditioning, there were no fans. And people were also, in those times, people were pretty dressed too, so they would have been pretty hot anyway. And so our buildings help us understand more about our past than reading a few history books. You get to experience the space and you get to know the story. And I think it's important that we learn to take ownership and take pride of the parts of our culture that make us who we are.
I definitely agree, and like Jael, I maybe didn't have as much of an appreciation for the significance of these architectural styles, particularly those found in Roseau, until I was like, it was a random cruise ship day, and there were a whole bunch of tourists on Cork Street taking pictures of the Guyav building and some of the and I was in traffic and I was looking at these people and they were so taken, it was of such interest to them, and it's Guyav, for instance, is a building I pass all the time and I never, thought much about it, and it being an attraction to visitors, and they wanting to actually document what they had seen by taking pictures, and so I started thinking about it then, this is really a thing, and it's also a thing for tourism as well, not just us and our history, but also sharing those stories with people from outside. So I definitely get where you're coming from. Yes, Jacqueline, I see you. You wanted to interject.
You never see tourists taking picture of one of our faceless modern buildings. These buildings have so much character. Yeah. And we need to step back and look at them. Mm-hmm. They are really beautiful. And we take it for granted. The same way people take their rights and freedoms for granted. And when you just become comfortable, it is lost. It is a continuing battle. Black people need to continue, as you always saying, need to continue to fight for their rights and their freedoms. And likewise, we need to continue to fight for our architectural heritage. It is so important.
And to add to that, I think sometimes the conversation when we talk about preserving our buildings, people say, well, why do you want that old building? Why do you want to save it? Some of the buildings, if these buildings have been maintained, they can stand this, they can stand time. You can look at, I remember hearing stories even of a woman who was able to survive inside all these other buildings collapse, and her structure was built in the traditional way, wasn't even touched, and a lot of the buildings survived Hurricane David and Hurricane Maria. And okay, so all right, we will take what we can learn from that and apply it to modern buildings. So even if we do need to upgrade, I understand that Roseau is a small space for what our needs are growing. You mean where it's a 18th century city with 21st century problems. And so if we can apply those elements to modern buildings, if we're going to, we have to construct modern buildings. We're not saying we don't need to construct modern buildings, but at least try to take the elements from what we've, our heritage, and take this pride in our city. And I also want to stress that we're not just talking about Roseau, we're talking about the island. Right. And then, Cabritz was restored, and look how much use it gets. People go there, they spend time, they have their picnics, they have concerts, they have weddings, it can be used. And then you're there and you're also learning about the space, you're kind of taking ownership back. And I think that's important to apply. And also I wanted to add, when it comes to tourists, I do think that when we think about our culture, we think about how we can appreciate the culture for ourselves. And when we take ownership, and I like this word, taking ownership, then people come and they want to enjoy it with us. I mean, the French love their culture and they take pride in it, and we go to experience it with them. And so, and if we can apply that to our buildings and preserving it, then great.
Yeah, as Petrea was saying, everybody appreciates the cabarets and the jazz festival and the weddings and all the events that take place there. But how many of us saw its potential? It was not until it was built that people stood up and said, wow, isn't this a fabulous structure and surroundings? Oh, these old buildings have great ambience. I don't know if they have the spirits of our ancestors in them, but they have great ambiance. When you look around Roseau, a lot of the popular restaurants are housed in these 18th century buildings, And another point she was making also was about how our buildings provide lessons for today's architects and engineers, because take a walk around Roseau and you'll see the most rotten building, Tikai, and it withstood the hurricane. And you ask yourself, but oh my goodness, I know I know the features that made it strong, but at the same time it's so rotten and yet it withstood it. It's because they lived in a time when there was no satellite to tell them a hurricane was coming. There was no insurance companies to give them back money to build their buildings back. So they had to learn how to live in that environment. And we now have this new term, resilience, but they knew what resilience was long before. It's just a new term that we have coined. But every aspect about this architecture is resilient to hurricanes and even to earthquakes, because these buildings can flex with an earthquake. And I could go through the list of features in that building that make it withstand a Category 5 hurricane, So yeah.
Sorry, even to add to that, Jackie, like just thinking about the veranda, when you're walking in Roseau and it's raining, what you're going to do, you want to look for a building with a veranda to stand underneath. And imagine Roseau was a city of verandas, you had that. It helped cool the building because the verandas were positioned, off the walls. So the sun comes, the roof over the veranda takes most of the heat. The walls of the building don't get direct sunlight, so the building is kept cool indirectly by that. And then people walking on the streets can shelter under the veranda. Something as simple as that, you think, oh, wow, okay, well, that works.
Yeah.
What makes our carnival so special is our verandas. That interaction between the reveler and the spectator. You don't get that in Trinidad. You don't get that in Trinidad. You're on a hot stage and you have to put bleachers up. This is so wonderful. You're jumping carnival, and there is your tanty or your granny or your child. Wave and whoa and all of that. So there's this great interaction between the street and the veranda. We even see it when we walk in town. You have somebody's on a veranda, and so it's great social interaction. Another aspect, we have a little porticos. You probably haven't noticed them, but say on the Coles-Lartigue's building, where Sharon Astafan lives, there's a little portico, and that was really it's a social interaction between street and house owner. It's a reception area. It's a cooler part of the house at a certain time of day. It's a little Marcos, those little jalousies, you can macro people from that. I used to live in my grandmother's house, and it was called Love Lane, man. I mean, Now you have modern houses. Don't you see the sash windows? They make no sense in a tropical climate because they only allow half of the air to come into the building, and the top half, a hot air rises, and the top half is closed, so the hot air stays in the building. And we're going, boy,
that is, yeah. And these are things.
We need a fan, and then we need AC, and then we complain about Dominic being too high.
Yeah.
We're not building smart. We have unlearned the lessons of the past. And I'm not against modernism and whatnot, but there's a place for modernism and there's a place for preservation.
Nice. And you brought up quite a few things that I think maybe a lot of us didn't even pause to think about. And so, we have our listeners saying, this discussion is definitely necessary because a lot of the things that you're bringing up about the architectural style and the benefits that we derive from that, people would, that would just fly by you. So it's definitely an important discussion. I want to bring up the public library. I know that's one of the buildings that you all have been lobbying for restoration of. The Roseau Library, the public library. Recently there was a fire at the library, and I want to know why specifically the library and also the Old Boys School. I see one of our listeners commenting, Rosalind, on she searching for pictures of the Old Boys School, and that's when she came across your organization, and she's saying that she's hoping that you all can assist. She was looking for some information on that building. But yeah, I want to know why these two buildings specifically are in yours. Why these two buildings, and what do you envision about how they can be preserved or restored? Well, in the case of the library, restored, particularly with the fire that just happened. I want to know what's your thoughts.
Jackie?
Okay. For whoever doesn't know about Andrew Carnegie, he was a great philanthropist. He was born a very poor Irish boy, and he made his money in steel. And he realized that poor children had no means to have access to books and learning and whatnot. And he used almost, I think, 90% of his wealth to build libraries throughout the world. And Dominica was lucky, fortunate to have received that grant. I can't remember the amount, and then our library was built. That space that it occupies, what I'm passionate about it's not only is it a beautiful architecture, it's a lovely cooling space. It has been the fertile ground for many of our citizens of this country. People today who are professionals, our intellects, from all walks of life have walked through those, has occupied this space and been inspired by it. Our city has become hot and congested. It is all the more reason for us to preserve not only the building, but the green space. Not everybody has a beautiful house and a beautiful garden. And we owe the youth and everybody in Dominica that nice, create it into a nice green space, sort of like the air conditioning of the town. I have been to that library in its current state and sat under that tree on the hottest day in Roseau, and it was very cool. Can you imagine transforming that green space, putting in some more picnic shelters, some more trees, some more shrubs, some more flowers, so that you can inspire our young people, inspire their minds. You know, I was reading where a psychologist was saying that beauty in art and design creates happy people. So I think it's so important to preserve that space in a city that is becoming hotter, more congested. And I want to hear people say, and I love Roseau. I don't want to hear them saying, I hate Roseau. I don't want to go into Roseau. We need to create a space, a city for all of us to enjoy, that we can recreate in, that we can have a peaceful and inspiring space, because it is our city. It belongs to all of us in Dominica.
Right. Petra, I saw you wanting to add something.
No, I was going to add to the Andrew Carnegie. He had a philosophy. He believed that the first part of your life should be educating, the second part should be making money, and the third part should be giving it away. So the last 18 years of his life, he gave away $65 billion. I think he had a net worth of like 300 and something billion, or thereabouts. But it was a substantial amount, and there are only 5 libraries constructed in the Caribbean, and one of them was here. The other one in St. Lucia was it burnt down. I think it was rebuilt, and it's still the current public library. Barbados, they're working to rebuild it and to fix it up. And St. Vincent, I think it's the main museum in St. Vincent. I'm not sure where the other one is. I can't remember. But and so just to add to that and what Jackie is saying, I think it's really important that hey, don't you want people to come to Roseau and not say, I can't wait to leave Roseau. I want to get out of Roseau. I want to be.
Whenever you go to Roseau, you have to prepare for a headache.
Yeah. And it doesn't. I
want to change that narrative, I guess.
Come to Roseau Sunday and take a stroll through it. It's a much more pleasant experience.
Yeah.
So we can create it.
Right. And I think to add to what Jackie is saying is, we're not saying that when the conversation about the libraries, we definitely need a modern facility that can serve the function, the purposes that we need. But that particular space is just to find something that would allow it to exist in its, as a multi-use space or something, but for everyone to enjoy.
I have a question, and as it relates to these older buildings and maybe materials used. I know, like for instance, with the Roseau Cathedral, the big project now to replace the asbestos which was present in the building. What are your thoughts from the architectural perspective of hazardous materials that are maybe present in these buildings and the cost to remove, restore, for people that might feel, okay, so the cost of restoration or removal of hazardous materials might outweigh just complete replacement or doing something completely new. What are your thoughts on cost and hazardous materials specifically? I know with the cathedral there's been a lot of, like every time people hear the cost, there's a whole bunch of backlash on that. So I want to know your all's thoughts as in that regard.
Well, the cathedral never had asbestos roof. It was slate tiles. Slate.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some buildings in Roseau that have asbestos, but not the cathedral.
Okay.
And yeah, the cost is obviously a factor. It is obviously a factor. But nothing comes cheap. You know, it's worthy of restoration. It is the spiritual seat of the country. Whether you're a Catholic or not a Catholic, it is the spiritual seat of the country. And it's a building of immense beauty. And it's a place of, it's a refuge from the hot city as well. Many a person who might be going for a tough time, they just will go, they used to go and just sit in the cathedral and just to meditate. You mightn't be religious, but it's a nice quiet space, a beautiful space. How many it was an attraction for our tourists. It has many a story to it, you know, so it's worthy of preservation.
And with regards to the materials used, I can't speak too much to that, except that, I mean, a lot of the traditional houses of wood and stone, and it's how they're constructed. And if those buildings, I had mentioned that earlier, I think if the buildings are maintained, then they can be saved. But if they haven't been maintained and, you know, the wear and tear and whatever has taken its hold, then it can't be. It will have to be torn down. But with hazardous material, I'm not aware of an issue with that.
Okay.
Yes, and coming back to the cost of restoration and these old buildings, that's where public partnership comes in, and that's where probably government should look at legislation and incentives for preserving our history.
I was about to ask. I was like, you took it right out of my tongue, because to link it with, I know recently there was a discussion on radio. It was actually in Vibes Radio, where the Prime Minister was speaking to his wife about what their plans are for the city of Roseau. A lot of it seemed to be along the lines of what the modern style, so to speak. There was, I heard the inclusion of what is it called, urban space, and there were different things included in the discussion. The majority of it kind of seemed to go along the lines of building new buildings that would house businesses as well as people. And one of the concerns I had, I'm like, there's so many buildings in Roseau that are unused. You know, they're just empty buildings. I remember there was this building on just off of Hillsborough Street, behind where Paul Karam lives, that street right there. It's called Turkey, not Turkey Lane. It goes
Hanover. No, it's not Hanover. It's Old Street.
Oh, yeah, Old Street. That's what it is, because it continues from Corks going all the way across. And there was a building there that suffered that got burnt down. And for the longest while, that building was just there, you know, like nothing was being done. And recently, when I visited Dominica, I saw they had like transformed it, still keeping, you know, the stone structure and all of that. And it looked so nice. I was like, okay. So a lot of that, like, I feel like there should be an incentive for people in Roseau or who live in Roseau to probably, you know, preserve or like, I don't know. I can't really speak to the policies because I could care less, to be honest. But there are things like I guess duty-free concessions, or, you know, all these different things to help tax credit to preserve an incentive of some sort.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Jackie, you started talking about it, and it was just something I was gonna say. No?
Yeah. Okay, well, you know, I guess I get too excited about this topic. I have nothing against modernism. I have nothing against advancement in the use of our land space and so. But my argument is, and it will always be, that there's a place for modernism and there's a place for preservation, and it's an ongoing battle, and that battle has been fought out in many big cities of the world. But it is very important for us to keep these living examples of our history. We mightn't be able to keep all of them. Some are more important than others. And even within SHAPE in the we had compiled data on a list of the buildings, and we had 3 categories. We had a category of, and that was within a certain district. So we had the French Quarter and just outside of it. And we had a category of preservation. Preservation being where you keep the building as is. It has important historical aspects, architectural aspects, and it should be preserved as is. So, and then another category was rehabilitation, where you have a building that you can add to it, you can take away from it, but you still keep within the vernacular style. And then you have a new construction where you build an entirely new building, but you borrow aspects of our architectural heritage. So everything fits in and looks nice. If you want to do your modern construction, you have a zone in the city where you can say, okay, this part of Roseau, this is where we're going to put our 21st century building. Fine, I love contemporary architecture, but there's a place for it.
Ladies, are there any examples other than the Roseau Public Library and the old boys' school that you all have identified within SHAPE as being worthy of, restoration or preservation or rehabilitation? Any standout examples that you maybe want to leave us with of some buildings that are flagged as being good?
I'm excited to know.
Yeah, good to restore or rehabilitate.
Well, we're compiling a list, but I think the list that Jackie's talking about, excuse me, a lot of the buildings have gone, and the few that remain we'll have to go through and check. I mean, the Barracoon building is another important building. And it has a very dark past, but it's the last remaining in the Caribbean on this part.
By the Roseau Fish Market? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's the last remaining in the Western Hemisphere of a yeah.
Yeah.
But you also give more of an insight into that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it was a holding when enslaved people were brought from Africa, were held there, and it's got a very I mean it's a conflict. Yeah, it's a difficult building to even look at and say, okay, why should we save this? But again, it reminds us of how far we've come and where we've been and so on. I can't name any of the other buildings. I don't know if Jackie would like to add to that, but we're in the process of looking at other structures that would that we create awareness about.
Well, one of the buildings that comes to mind, SHAPE had even given a plaque. We had identified 3 buildings and we had given a plaque. And I think of the Coulsarti building that's close to France, where France was, that great 2-story house. Mm-hmm. That is one of the private buildings. But even within, we don't really say only this big scale building. You have medium and you have the TKIs. I mean, the TKIs are very important. it's part of our history. Many people have lived in these tikais. Imagine if we have no more tikais left in Dominica, nobody will be able to say, this is the house I lived in. This is the house of my grandmothers. They'll all be torn down and replaced with these modern, faceless buildings.
And to add to that, Jackie, some people have actually taken, I think, I'm not sure if it's in St. Kitts, but they've taken tikais because you can pick them up and move them and then turn them into cabins and hotel rooms for guests. And, they've reworked.
Somebody has done that in Calabishi, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. And,
Ladies,
yeah, we are.
Who would have thought that this conversation would be so interesting?
Right. And from this conversation, we even have, people out there who are volunteering to help and work with you all. Yeah. I see Jael Joseph has commented that he's a landscape architect with a background in architecture and planning, and he would love to collaborate and assist. So the discussion was definitely fruitful, and I think a lot of awareness has been brought to the issue of architectural preservation and enhancement. I definitely think we accomplished that.
Yes.
A bit of that this morning.
And I want to encourage you guys to continue the work that you're doing. I think it's fantastic. I love, and I mean, apart from the Woman2Woman show, know that you have a voice in me. So I love what you guys are doing. I never thought I would actually care about a building. I had to go to Cuba in order for that to actually dawn on me and hit me, and I get upset about it. I actually did get upset. I think it was probably embedded in me for a long time. I got upset when the building next to my childhood, where I grew up, was being erected to put in the new VCAS health center. And they were going to take off the entire bottom, and I started making noise. So that was probably, I guess, because it didn't make sense to me that you would, because you know how the stones, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but how it almost looked like cobblestones, that bottom foundation, like holding up the entire building, and they kept it, so I guess my noise was fruitful because they kept that part. Granted, they changed the building, right? I also make noise about the tree, but that didn't happen. They didn't keep the tree. But I feel like, it's important I want my kids to be able to kind of understand that, hey, these are things that, mommy grew up knowing and seeing, and our grandma knew, about and loved. And it's
all you have now are pictures and memories. It's gone. And that, we don't want that to happen in Roseau.
Yeah. Or in Dominic Creek.
Island.
Or in Dominic. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm very passionate about the whole of the city, and I see so much beauty. Somebody might drive and see beauty in something else, but I drive and I see beauty in those old stones and stuff like that. Thank you. We have so much to talk about, Jael and Trudy, and I thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to have this conversation.
Yes.
And
please stay tuned on our media as well.
Yeah. Very important. Our Facebook and our Instagram.
Okay.
And join. Please become a member.
I want to become a member. You got my.
I don't imagine. Yes, I already have ideas for you, Jael. You could do a fashion show in
the
French district.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
ladies.
It was always in me, man. It's just you're like chewing in it. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you very
much.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Okay, Trudy, very nice.
Bye-bye.
Have a lovely day.
You too.
Yes,
yes, beyond our time, so let's just stay by. Stay by. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, as usual. Same time, same place. Woman2Woman. Make sure you are locked on.
We're talking about managing your finances.
Yes, and importance of insurance.
Exactly.
Yes. So make sure you log on tomorrow. And of course, we'll end the week Friday for a big show. So the rest of the week, you all need to be on Woman2Woman 9 a.m. Locked. We will be back. Jael?
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day, okay? Bye.
Bye.
Do you have a question for us on Woman2Woman? Send in your questions on 767-245-0514 or email us at w2w.vibesradio@gmail.com. Tune in Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. to the Champion Station with Jael Joseph and Trudy Christian, only on Vibes Radio.